Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is going to be very exciting. Emily, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm super juiced because I obviously get to see behind the curtain and I know all the things that you and the team has like diligently be working on. And I'm excited to kind of go through and talk about, share it, and
You're
really
on that team, Souza. I feel like you're behind the
no, I
curtain.
know. That's but like I can't just transmit out to the public. I gotta, we
I
gotta wait for
know.
the boss to give the stuff and like I act like I haven't seen all of it and it's amazing.
There's so much coming in 2025. It's like I can't even tell you. I feel like, I mean, you've heard me say this before, but like I keep waiting to get hit by a bus because I feel like we've spent like a couple, I mean, from the curriculum side, like a couple years working on this stuff. And then last year, I mean, 2024 was like our year of building, and we built so much. And I mean, like, there's not that many people on the team. Everybody on the team is so critical. But also, I feel like everybody has to deal with me being like, hey, you guys, I have this idea. Like, let's build this class. Let's do this thing. Let's change the website like this. And everybody does such a good job of coming together, but it's constantly like a fire drill.
Mhm.
And I think when everybody gets our Christmas card, which I cannot wait for, and like as a little teaser, we're going to be releasing some really fun secret animation type things. I think we're going to do them all on Christmas Eve. So every hour, we're going to drop another clue. But
Mhm.
the Christmas card is amazing because it kind of sums up how many things we did this year. And I feel like 2025 is going to be about really sharing them so that people can learn from the tools and build the community. And so I think like this year was the year of building the foundation for which we will then be really launching this into the public sphere in 2025. So I could not be more proud of how hard everybody has worked and how much we've accomplished. I mean, like it's really phenomenal when you look at the breadth of the range of products we're putting out and how I think well sourced they are, how impactful they have the potential to be. I think we're really poised for 2025 to make a big difference, but this hasn't been easy. And so I just want to sort of acknowledge how hard everybody on this team has worked and like including over Thanksgiving, including like most weekends for the last 6 months. Like it's been
Mhm.
all hands on deck. And I cannot tell you how everybody has come together. I don't have to tell you because you've been a part of it
Yep.
and you're on Slack getting messages from me at 2 in the morning. But like and I think the other thing to mention is that like I'm so proud of how the relationships have built on the team. Like there's a lot of people, most people did not know each other. And I think everybody's pretty good friends now. And like we have so much fun on the road together. So it's been just, I'm incredibly grateful as I look back on what we've done this year and looking really optimistically towards 2025.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo everything you were saying, like I kind of love the chaos and like it takes a special team to be able to just like get in there and be like, hey, we're doing this. Hey, these things came up. We have to adjust on the fly, but we're still moving everything forward. Like I love that kind of environment because everybody who's on the team is executing at a high level. And like there's no like middlemaning or like who's doing this and there's just this flow. It's like you are wearing a hat, you're gonna own whatever it is, you're gonna work with the team, you guys are gonna make decisions on your on our own and particularly I enjoy that. But as you were saying, like using this year as like really of a promotion of all the work, I'm super excited to share a lot of this stuff because the way that I think about everything I do as an affiliate owner and as a trainer is like what would I like to do or what tools do I need to better serve my members? What stuff really excites me? What stuff continues the education? What stuff aligns with the mission and a long-term vision that we're on? And I could say that every single thing that is being worked on behind the scenes is all tailored and catered toward that. And so I'm super excited to start to share a lot of these things. We do have some guests that will be coming on. We'll be bringing on a few people from the team, so we'll be hearing about their perspective stuff. We'll have Carm from the Med Society. We'll have Dale from Affiliates. So we're excited to share that. I think we're going to potentially have Greg on towards the end to kind of come on and chat about some stuff. But also, too, we want to open it up. If you guys have questions that are listening right now, please throw it all in there. We want to just kind of like go over that. We'll still continue to kind of like talk about some stuff and bring some more clarity to a lot of the projects we have working. But particularly, like we're here for you guys. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like even the accessibility with the team and like with Dale on affiliates and stuff like that, and being able to just hit him up, essentially do a call and him taking the calls really drives home the community aspect that we're trying to accomplish here and being able to have accessibility to everybody for questions or comments or even just like, hey, we want to contribute in this manner. How do we do so? And you could easily get a hold of somebody that'll give you the direct line to the information there.
Definitely. And I mean, I feel like that's why we're doing these lives too, so that people can ask questions and feel like they can get very direct, clear answers on things that we know. And I'm happy to say, like, we don't know if we don't know, right? Or that's a great idea. We should do that. Like,
Yeah. And to that point,
what you were saying too, I feel like, even like a lot of people know that I was a journalist. A lot of people do not know that I've like run businesses in the past. But I feel like one of the things that I would echo with you is that I owned 3 gyms. And when I did, there were things that were really frustrating or annoying from that like sort of owner perspective, and trying to roll things out or give members new things or keep coaches engaged and stimulated. And I think we are as a team acutely aware of that sort of like boots on the ground. What do people need? What is going to make life easier? And I think from my perspective, a lot of it is both my experience, your experience, Dale's experience, and also, sort of Greg's foundational principles that you as HQ need to make life easier for the affiliates by doing the things that they cannot do for themselves. And so I think that's sort of a grounding principle in everything that we're doing with MetFix is like, what are things that we can provide, whether, obviously high level education, also some classes that we have coming, that are in the education piece, but they'll allow you to then, translate that into like whiteboard talks in your box, and an email that's going to start going out probably February, March, that will be every week talking about things that are in our curriculum, but transferred into a way that you can spend that week talking to your members about. And I really, in my experience, found that was the best way to position coaches as professionals, to be sharing medical research, to be talking about the efficacy of the workouts because of the fact that they were grounded in science. And I think, for me, I had a women's health curriculum that we focused on different things impacting women every month. But like, that's not going to be that different from what we're doing. And again, it's going back to this idea of like, what can we do to serve you and make you as powerful in your role as a box owner as possible? So I think we have some amazing tools. You want to pick one to share?
Yeah. So one of the ones that I am like really excited about is actually the Daily Fix. Do we want to jump right into that already? Okay, cool. Okay, so like Emily was saying, I just want to echo this too. Like everything that is being done or worked on.
Check your text messages.
I know, I already got her. Yeah, I know. I'm like doing the produce, like I'm getting the screens. We're getting it all. We're good. Thank you though. And I was gonna go through just kind of say hi to a few people because we have like Brian Clark here. See all the time going. Craig, good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna screw this name up. Bastine. Yeah, we'll go with that. Welcome. And if I mess it up, please let me know in the DM. You can smack me around. I have no problem with it. LMC Fit. What's up? How we doing? And Matt Burns is here. We know this gentleman here. Hello. Connor, how's it going?
Part of the team.
Daz, what's up?
Daz, it must be like it's like 3 a.m. for you. That's
keeping it real. Hey, how's it going, Grant? Glad you're here. Kenneth, I must say, Kenneth is like a silent partner in crime because a lot of the lectures and different things I've been like working on and brewing in the back, Kenneth has been subject to. So
great.
Yeah, he's been great. Albert Lou is here as well. Awesome. Chance, how you doing?
Hi, Chance.
Brett, Rodrigo, what's up, guys? Hey, glad everybody's here. Cool, everybody's piling in. So going back to what you were saying, Emily, like everything that is done is in the assistance, is doing what the trainer and the affiliate owner either doesn't have the resources or access to do, or needs that we could take down from this higher level. I always just call it the intellectual powerhouse that you guys have formed in this network of people, and basically distilling that down to like, do this with your members to make them healthier and happier. And continuing that on, not just like it's one time and then, like you were saying, something new every month that we could address, or all these different cool articles or people, and taking that information and being able to give it to our members is the most important part. And the Daily Fix helps us do just exactly that. And I love the way that there's 3 icons, as you guys can see on your screen here. Body, belly, and brain. So before I click into any of those, did you want to speak about why those 3 things or the format there at all?
Well, I think for me, it's like, one of these things that I've said all along and is becoming sort of a tagline for us is that like you need both the brain and the body, and they work together. Obviously, they're not separate systems, but that like really just this idea of focusing on nutrition isn't enough. focusing on mental health or, intellectual sort of stimulation, a lifelong learning path is not enough. And working on, just workouts, physical output is not enough. You need all three. And so we want to provide as much support as we can so that you guys can deliver that. And I think, my hope with the Daily Fix was twofold. It's like it's a central place. It kind of, you can comment, you can put your workout times in there, just sort of like the old message boards, which is going to be, I hope, a fun feature. But also the recipes are really simple. And so people who say like, I don't know how to cook, or I can't do this, I have to order out, or I eat out all the time, or I pick up food on the way home. The idea behind these is really to allow you to see a very simple recipe, a video on how it's all put together. And even if you watch like 10 of those, 100 of those before you do your first one, it's the idea is it's sort of demystifying this idea that like cooking's too hard, or I can't get the right ingredients, or in some cases, I mean, we have a lot of red meat, but also I'm a big fan of like, really good food is more expensive. It's much cheaper to eat carbohydrates, right? And so how do we, include more eggs, include more things that allow people to feel like, oh, I can get enough protein from natural sources in the right ways. And so these all have the same breakdowns. They're basically all low carb, mostly sort of on more towards the keto side of things. And they're beautiful. And I feel like they really add this piece to them. And I think the other thing we should mention is, and the brain stuff is, it's not just exercise or nutrition focused. It's a lot of stuff that Greg and I share with each other, that we think is just sort of interesting. So like some stuff will appeal and some stuff won't, and that's fine. It's just sort of to open your eyes to a broader world of intellectual interests, political interests, socioeconomic stuff. Like there's a lot, the curation of those articles is like, people might be like, this is so random, but it's not, because it's stuff that we're interested in. We think other people will be too. But I think, the other thing to add here is that the way this helps affiliates is that it is on our website. So it's free and available to anybody who wants to go to brokenscience.org/MetFix. I think it's on that landing page. But it also is a plugin for affiliates. So I don't think it's on your site yet, but it will be on Souza's and Dale's site probably within the next week or so, hopefully before Christmas.
Before Christmas,
And it will be automatically plugged into your website if you want. It's totally optional. But if you become a MetFix affiliate, you will have the option to have this so that on your homepage, you have, your normal landing page or whatever. And then at the bottom, there's this extra content that we are generating for you on your behalf. And it will automatically update every day. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to have the plugin, and we control all the content generation, all the recipes, the workouts, whatever. We know a lot of people are doing their own programming, or there's all these other programming outfits out there. We're not really like trying to compete with that. We're just trying to offer something. So the Daily Fix is just sort of, I think it'll be a great way to both keep your homepage, your website updated without you having to do any work at all. And also sort of promote these things that we know you're working really hard on in the box.
Yes. And just to echo those things, like a lot of the stuff that is talked about in terms of like, how do I fix like people that are metabolically deranged or need the help in that, right? And like you get all these complex things. And what I love about the belly portion is it's just like, eat that. So everything we talked about that was real high level and all this intellectual stuff, it like boils down to like herb crusted steak with lemon butter. And
can you play that video? Or is it just
no? It's just play it as the display. But I'll give us one in the shortly to play here. But it also has everything laid out for the recipe. And then going back to what you were saying with the brain, the amount of requests we get for like, where does Greg get all this information? How does Emily find this stuff out? What are they looking at? Like, how are they like ahead of the curve on all this? This is what that'll be access to, right? And what I love about it is, like Emily just said, it's curated for you as a trainer or as an affiliate owner. So you guys could come in, pick the stuff that you think would resonate best with your members, and you could talk about these topics in front of the whiteboard or with your members after the fact. But what I like about this is it's just a massive value proposition, because there's a lot of stuff that is going to continuously come out and do that's going to provide value to my members for my gym, and I don't have to do anything about it. It's just going to continuously produce from the Daily Fix. And I could really dig in. One thing that I would like to say, I'm just going to throw this out there, and we're going to use the a money-making word here. So Emily, plug your ears, because I know you'll get upset about this. But if you guys take some of the belly things and you do a freaking cooking class inside your gym, whether you set it up and you do it live stream, or you invite all everybody in for a Saturday and you do stuff like this together with your community, these are awesome ways to continue to invest in your community, continue to move them towards health, but also bring them into the same room together. So these type of tools that I'll be using in my gym, and then we'll show you guys how to do it, ways you could do it yourself, and everything else. And we hope that the people that are part of this, especially that first 100, you guys are contributors. As you're doing this and using this material, you're reaching back out to us and telling us, hey, this was really effective. We really did this. So we could continue to cross-pollinate ideas and bring more and more value to our members. So that's it with the daily fix up. But this portion here, I'm super excited about. And the fact that it plugs into your website if you want it is really freaking cool. And then, like you were saying, as far as the workout stuff goes, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. This is just a really cool thing. It's a callback to kind of the old school method way of how the methodology started. And I love it because there is a bunch of notes and different things here, which is another great incentive for your members, because if they need some sort of workout, they don't maybe have access to equipment or different things, that type of stuff will be noted. So so-and-so goes on vacation, you could be like, dude, stay up with the site. We got to archive stuff of the bodyweight workouts right there. You could search it and boom, now your people have some great workouts as well. So anything else with the daily fix here?
No, I mean, I think it's just a good example of like how we're trying to think of things that we can do. I mean, it's a team of people working on the daily fix, right? Like most boxes don't have a team of people who are doing editorial and tech and, you know, recipes and all of these things.
Exactly.
So it's like, this is a value add for everybody who's an affiliate that we really think will help promote what you're doing without you having to do any promotional work. You focus on the clients in the box and we will help with the outreach beyond that.
That's, yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. And I love the fact that there's like the continuation of work being done, that as I get in with the day-to-day stuff with my members, I know I could call back and utilize and do that's going to continue without me having to drive it forward.
And the other thing that's about that is that if you have a member who is, say, you know, only eats fish, like that's their primary protein source, you can filter the daily fix when you go through the archive to select for protein type. So even when you're sitting and doing like initial nutrition consults, or you have somebody who's like sort of checking out your box in your website, like they'll be able to see, oh, wow, like this, you know, this is actually pretty easy to navigate, which I like, because I think, you know, one of the things that is always challenging is trying to convince people to start doing a diet like this. And because of that protein option, I think it makes it a little bit easier for people to see that there's like a ton of different stuff that you can do. So if people have aversions, or there's, you know, they don't eat red meat or whatever, it's all workable.
Yeah. And that was awesome. And then 194 CrossFit, I love having to share this not only with our members, but anybody visiting the site. And I mean, that's huge, right? Because they're going to show that you're really invested into this, especially with the brain portion. When they go and they click through the articles, they're like, whoa, this is kind of the level of access to people and information and stuff. It's a huge differentiator and really sets us apart from everything else. And I'll be continuing to use that daily fix and sharing a ton of the ways that I'm utilizing it with you guys. And I'll be really loud about that, and we'll be showing it and sharing it. So hopefully you guys could take everything I'm doing and make it your own, add to it, whatever works for your communities. Should we get into the little bit of the medical society stuff? I see the lovely lady down there in the backstage. Should we bring her in?
Please.
I should probably leave. Like when we bring Karin in here, this stream goes to like a 10 out of a 10, and I bring it down to like a 6. So maybe I'll jump off. But with no further ado here, the director of the medical society, Karin Thompson here. She gets an applaud. You like that?
I like your shirt.
Don't you love it?
I love it. We had that made just in case anybody's wondering. I said we had that made just for Karin. I don't know that they're for sale. I think that they were just made for select female members of our team. I'm not sure.
Exclusive. Yeah, this lady might have had something to do with it here.
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Jess.
Nice tanks. I mean, tank. So let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on with the CrossFit Medical Society, and you guys are continuing the Evolution of the Revolution tour. We've already gone down to a couple of different places all over, and we got one coming up as well in February down in LA. But let's go ahead and start digging into some of that stuff, Karin. How is everything going with the Medical Society?
I'm honestly blown away. We have created this community of super passionate individuals, not just physicians and healthcare providers, but patients as well. And the way that they're showing up, the questions that they're asking, the engagement is like second to none. I've never experienced this amount of passion. And honestly, like it just makes my work and everything that we're doing so meaningful. And not just like the members, but the experts that we're bringing in as well, like Seafried and Taubes and Zoe Harcombe. And then we had the member showcase with Stephen Luther and his incredible team. And every time we do something, I'm just blown away by the work that our community is doing. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. And it's something about like when you have people that are just really passionate and like care about the work that you do, and you give them into the same, like everybody into the same room, the energy, the conversations. And for me, like, even though I'm low guy on the totem pole in terms of the intellectual conversations that are happening there, I still come away with a ton of energy and like excitement to like share everything that was going on. And it just fires me back up to go back and do the work. And like, for me, even though this may seem small, the collective total of everything that we're doing with Broken Science and MetFix and the Medical Society shows that the work that I do matters. And when I show up at my gym at 5:15 in the morning, it's cold as shit, and I'm rolling up that bay door, I know that all the work that's being done by this awesome freaking team here is continuing to drive the mission. And for me, that's huge, because you know that someone's got your back and we're continuing to work at really high levels while you're continuing to do the day-to-day stuff inside the gym, which is also very important work.
Well, I think what really stood out for me with this group, oh, sorry, Em.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I think what really stood out for me with this group versus what we were previously doing is like this group is highly engaged and they are implementing all the principles, everything that we've spoken about, like everything that we are giving them access to. They're the ones implementing the work. Like we're providing the education and the information, but they're actually actioning this. And I think like Em will agree with me. We've had a conversation many times. When we went to Hilton Head and saw what Dr. Stephen Luther and his team was doing, like it blew our minds. Like we literally had to like take a step back and be like, who knew this was possible? Like this is the dream and the ultimate, and they're actually doing it with this massive patient population. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like Stephen Luther. I like Karin and I were joking. I was like, I want a shirt that says like, what would Stephen Luther do? Because like literally I think he's like memorized everything Greg's ever written. Like his primary care doctor who's built this gorgeous facility. He hosted us with people who had the best questions. I mean, the whole event like just blew our minds. But I said to him and Karin, I was like, you know what's really cool about this is that like I think, you know, Greg and then Greg and Karin and now me and Greg and Karin like have had this vision for like how could healthcare be, right? How can doctors actually do what they went to medical school to do, the art and science of medicine, right? Like not spending 12 minutes a year with your patient and just matching prescriptions to symptoms. And he like, it's like when you tell a kid like you can do anything, Johnny, and then the kid goes and does this thing and you're like, holy moly, you actually did it. Like and not that we didn't believe it was possible, like nothing cynical, but like he has literally over the like since Greg sold CrossFit, he has implemented all of those ideas, built an incredible community of really smart, interesting people that combine other healthcare workers, registered dietitians, and patients. And they have this, I mean, like if it were, I would hang out there all the time, which is sort of his goal, right? Like I get to see my patients when they're working out. I get to see my patients when they come in for, he has a whole like aesthetic business. And his whole thing is that you want to live a long life where you're healthy and beautiful. And I mean, like Karin and I are both like, sign me up. Like we're going to go back.
I want to move there. And also
every training offers. But like, I think the other thing I just wanted to mention when you were talking about like Karin has done such a phenomenal job with very little direction on planning webinars, hosting events, bringing in phenomenal speakers and educators. But one of the things that I'm always taken aback by, which I think is really important to emphasize, because having been involved in like lots of different little communities, right? Or seeing, you know, whether it's like you're talking about finance with finance people, or you're talking about politics with politicians, people aren't necessarily generous with their knowledge. There oftentimes is this feeling of like, you come to the conversation, you kind of want to know what somebody else knows so that you can make sure that you're presenting yourself as the best, right? Or that you're coming at something looking for a competitive advantage. I've seen zero of that. People are so generous with what they know, with what they're struggling with areas they want to learn more. And I don't know exactly how we have fostered that kind of a community, but it's a supportive group. And I think I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about like 50% patients, 50% healthcare workers.
Yeah.
So it's not just people who are like in the trenches doing the job. It's people who are in the trenches caring for an elderly patient or caring for themselves or their spouse or their kids, looking for good research in a good community. And we have people who are saying like, I'm really trying to create this perfect community. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm learning more and I'm here for you. And I do telemedicine. I mean, like some of those connections, like we could never have planned for, right? And it would have been superficial had we, but it has become this sort of like magical incubator that I feel so protective of and so grateful for. And I think a lot of that is under your leadership, that people have really come to this with an open mind and the ability to want to learn and frankly want to contribute, which is what I really hope MetFix carries on with, that same sort of openness to how do we support each other, right? Like we're all trying to save lives and we're all coming at it from different lenses, but how do we as a community collectively, sort of accomplish these goals? And the medical society is like, I mean, Karin and I get emails every time somebody signs up for the medical society. And there's some nights where I'm like, damn, like, what did we post? What did we do? Right? Like we got like 20 new people signed up and it's like really invigorating. And I think, sort of talking about how hard we've all been working, it's like, that's what keeps me going. That's what makes me be like, I don't mind working on a Saturday because like, look at all these people who are dying for what we're providing and are using it. They're not just signing up and then being passive. They're really using it. And so, I mean, I can't thank you enough for all that hard work too, because I think it's really a testament to your leadership and your ability to create these communities and find the right people to educate everybody.
Totally. And no, and honestly, like the people that are coming into the medical society are very self-driven. I think that's what sets them apart from previous communities that we have started, not with Broken Society or MetFix, obviously. But these are people who are willing to go out, give it a try, make mistakes, ask for help, want to collaborate, are constantly wanting to learn and grow. It reminds me so much of that Apple clip where they talk about the misfits and like, these are the people that change the world. Like, these are the people that change the world. And one of the biggest comments that I've got, Em, is like this, what we're providing in education is this ability to learn how to think critically.
Yeah.
We get so many comments on Emily Unleashed, like such positive comments on like, they're like, well, we didn't really understand what this meant or why it was even included. And then we listened. And we suddenly have this ability and this understanding to look at situations from a different perspective. And so, huge kudos to you. And then just like, when I see what the members are doing, it's incredible. Luke Palmisano, emergency room physician in Los Angeles. We're hosting the event. He's hosting our event in February. I mean, he posts something the other day. He's an ER doctor. You've been to the ERs in the United States. It's chaos. They don't have more than 2 minutes to spend with you. Here, this man is writing a prescription for exercise and nutrition, drawing a plate of what these people should be eating. And I'm like, this man cares.
Yeah.
And those are the types of people that we are having in the medical society and as part of MetFix. They are part of the solution and they are willing to put in the work. They don't have to be like, you have to do A, B, C. They're taking it. They're modifying it to what works for them in their communities. And they're actually doing it. I mean, what a privilege for us to witness this and be a part of.
Totally. And that's why I think, again, it goes back to this idea of like, how can we best educate and support the efforts of the people who are actually like the soldiers in the trenches doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then two things, just to echo those words, like the generosity in terms of like them giving time to either educate on what they talked about further, draw more clarity, or help you make the connection from the talk to the people that are in front of you that you're training. It could not be a more generous group. Like I was kind of like intimidated, like, oh, these guys, how do you get in and have these conversations? And they are so willing just to, if you just walk up to them during the tacos and like the hangout afterwards, and you're like, so can we get clarity on this or that or anything? And everybody is super, super generous. So I would really encourage you, if you have not, go to the Broken Science, go to the medical society portion of it, fill out the application. Like we have Lori here, got to hang out with her a little bit yesterday. It was great doing that. But
I love her.
Yeah. So she was really excited, affiliate owner for a long time over here local, just about 15, 20 minutes up the road from me. And was like, how do I get involved? I'm like, just go there, sign up the stuff, talk to Karin, like put it in there. Like they'll help you through with the applications to get yourself involved. And when we talk about a ton of stuff like coming up here, let me just share this real quick. This is just a couple of things highlighted that are coming up in just the near future. Not to mention, there's lots of other like journal club stuff and other things going on. So you want to be involved. If you guys go to brokenscience.org and you sign up there, it'll get you the information necessary. You could become a part of the medical society and get yourself involved here.
And I would just add one thing to that, because I think it's really important for people who feel intimidated to realize that none of us who have arrived at this place were taught this in any traditional sense, right? So like I've gone to the best schools in the country. I didn't learn any of this in any of those places. I learned it from other people, and I learned it by me doing a lot of digging on my own. So like I think that's part of the reason that people are so generous in terms of wanting to help and wanting to teach other people, is because that's how we all learned. It's not like you go to get a formal education and then you can come and have a conversation. Nobody, literally none of our experts, like plenty of them went to great schools, have had great careers, but they didn't learn what they're teaching here through those traditional channels. And so I think it's almost like, you're paying it forward because somebody did it for you. Somebody mentored you, somebody helped you, somebody carried you through and taught you how statistics are manipulated, or how to do real research, or how to look at a disease properly, or how to talk to a doctor properly. None of that stuff is formally taught except with us. I mean, I think we are starting to formalize some of that education for the very first time ever anywhere. And so I think, for somebody who feels like, oh, I don't know, I can't hang out with Seafried or whatever. Even at the event in Boston, like my daughter, who's 11, was like Seafried's sidekick all night because she had a lot of questions for him and he was really happy to educate her. And she's 11, right? So like no one should feel intimidated. The information is intimidating in part because it's been made to be overly complex so that it's kept with this sort of like expert set. We want this to be populace based. We want anybody to be able to go to the doctor and ask good questions, or get diagnosed with something, or have a parent that you're helping care for and be able to chart that course for them. That's your right as an individual to be able to do that. And I think that we're demystifying this in part because we've all had it demystified for us, and it's accessible. You can learn this stuff. It's not overly complicated. And also I think like the virtual happy hours and stuff like that, like people talk about research, but also sometimes the tequila flows. Like it's fun. And it's like a way of meeting other people who are just curious about this stuff. It doesn't have to all be so intellectual, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're also starting the book club, which I didn't put on because we're still trying to pin a date down.
Greg's going to do January and David Stove. So we'll get a date for January for that. I'm not sure if it'll be before or after his event, but
which is a good thing to sign up for book club with Greg in January. I mean, and Craig Wood has been so passionate. I know he's watching about like getting this book club out. He has the best ideas. He's just so passionate as well. So thank you, Craig, for your participation and everything that you give and bring to us.
He's got the book club for the win there. Yeah. And Ernie Garza throws his hat in the ring here, saying he's going to be in the States by February if you need an extra pair of hands for setups, breakdown. And Karin, you remember Ernie.
I love Ernie. Ernie would be my number one employee sidekick. Like I would pay money just to have Ernie near me.
He's definitely a valuable team member. That's for dang sure. Josh, what's up, man? Good to see you. Because real knows real, energy attracts energy. This is going back to kind of the cohort of people that Karin's been able to assemble, but not only the cohort of people, but the energy in the room. Like this is something that I think is very unique to this team, and is kind of an intangible. You have to have somebody that has the ability to bring the energy in the room, to lighten the mood to everybody, to remind everybody, like, why are you there? This is exciting, the importance of it, and be able to do that with carrying the stress of putting on a live event without ever letting it leak through to the audience that's there. And that is 100% Karin. And so it takes an individual like that to actually make this work. And that's kind of the intangible where you could have all the pieces of the recipe, but if you don't have somebody with her and her energy and her mindset, it just doesn't work. It doesn't come off the same.
And I just want to quickly build on that, not about me, but what has stood out for me so much is I don't have an extended family in the United States. This is my extended family. I deeply love and respect the colleagues that I have. Very different to my previous work experience. This ethos, this culture, this thing that Em is like building and spearheading and like empowering us to take forward is so different. Yes, the methodology is the same, that all the important parts are there. The foundations are there. The energy, the way we're doing it, so different. And it's literally the greatest privilege to be a part of this for me.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So there's some of the upcoming stuff that you guys could see there on the screen. And then anything else, Karin, that we want to mention? I think Craig just had one question here, so we'll go to this, and then we'll be talking about affiliates next year. But we got Craig. Is there a directory of who's in the medical society?
Yes, there is, and the profiles are there, and we've asked people to upload videos. Craig, I will resend you your email and with the information, so we can definitely chat about that. But yes, there are full profiles. You'll see exactly who's doing what, where they are, a ton of information, and we'll definitely be pushing that a lot harder in the new year.
Yes, and Bree Steller's here. Craig, adding it to the cart now. This was referring to the stove book. So yeah, you guys get that at Amazon.com. It's published by Broken Science now, so you could grab that and jump in, because you want to be ready in January whenever they kind of release the date for that. Look, where can you find the directory? This is Mr. Birchfield here, Jeffrey Birchfield. It's also a professor as well. Know him.
When you log into your Broken Science account, if you are a member of the medical society, you should be able to see your page as like a member directory. And it's up to you to go and update with, like, you know, if you're a doctor, what your specialty is, where you work. And that is something you can make forward facing, which will help your SEO as a practice. Or it's also a way of sort of like networking on our forums behind the scenes. So like if you're a patient and you're looking for a certain kind of doctor, you can search that way. And if you're a patient, you can list the interests that you have, things that you're doing. Do we have it connected where it shows every event you've been to? Or is that coming? I don't know.
I think that's coming. No, it may already be up. Sorry, I closed all my tabs so that we could get on here. But yes, it is an option for sure. I can see exactly which events I've been to, which is all of them.
I think we should put some videos on that so that people know how to navigate. There's a lot of technological capability that people aren't really utilizing yet. And I think it's probably because we haven't explained it's there, and it's like, this is how you use it. But the forums are really designed to be like a social media site. So as we grow, you can follow certain people, you can list articles you're reading or things you're interested in and share them with specific people. You can form your own cohorts of groups. So like theoretically, if you're a cancer patient, you could form a group with Seafried, and then you could invite other cancer patients to be part of that forum so that you guys are sharing information or experiences or whatever, and it's not available to everybody to see. So I think in 2025, this is, you know, to be honest, like we have built so many things and we haven't done enough work to showcase what we've built and how to use it. And that's really, for me, what 2025 is going to look like, is going back to the things we built and promoting them within our own community and the larger community, so that people realize there are all these tools and like they're all here. We've built them all, but you have to know how to use them, and you have to know that they're there in order to use them. So I think like a lot of that is probably still coming. I haven't actually checked in on like where the medical society dashboards are, but I know that the capability is built in there. So I think that's something we can definitely do a better job of. And like what it is literally, I mean, the team knows this. This is like what 2025 is going to be. It's like, we've built all this stuff. Let's make sure people are using it, enjoying it, and like we can keep improving on it.
And we honestly have the best tech team in the universe. I am madly in love with them, not in a bad way, like in a like, they just have the most generous hearts. They are so passionate, which is a common thread throughout everyone that works at BSI. So everything is probably there, and I just haven't expanded properly. So I'll take full responsibility for that and just rolling it out properly in the new year.
Well, I think step one is building it, us testing it. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like, we're getting there. We've done it all so fast. So I think it's exciting. You know, it's just to let people know there's a lot there that you don't even know about yet. Right.
Yeah. Awesome.
And Bree here is currently reading Karin's book, Sugar Free. So go out and get that as well. Okay, awesome. Karin, thank you very much for the updates there. You guys go over to the brokenscience.org site, sign up for the Medical Society, get all the stuff, get involved, because you guys aren't going to want to miss any of this. Ms. Karin Thompson, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I really love you guys.
Awesome. Bye. Adios. Cheers. She gets applause on the way out as well there. And with no further ado, Dale, put your pants on, baby. Here we go. He's in the mix. Welcome, sir.
Pants are on. Let's go.
Yeah, I know how these Zoom calls go for. He's all shirt and tie, but he's got the flannels on underneath, right?
Business up top, party in the bottom.
Dale, welcome, brother. As you
It's not Shark Tank, okay?
He's got the skinny the American flag shorts there, the Ranger panties, huh?
It's completely unfair and at a disadvantage to have to follow Karin. I gotta talk to somebody next time.
Believe me, I'm gonna use an AI beauty filter next time I'm on here, so that way I could just keep up the status quo. Dale and I are down. Anyhow, we got a ton of great stuff to get to with affiliates here, but Dale, how has everything been going on your end, man?
Honestly, dude, it's been reinvigorating. Getting these invites out, doing the whole process, getting them out there, reading their applications, seeing the videos, and now being able to have these Zoom calls and meet, in Atlanta, got to meet with folks face to face. Just a real quick, crazy story. So there I was 20 years ago, actually, to the day almost. I was in Iraq. This pretty traumatic thing happened in Iraq. Involving like a suicide bomber, chow hall, Fast forward 20 years later, I meet a guy named Nick who applied to be a MetFix affiliate. Nick, unfortunately, was a soldier in that chow hall.
No shit.
Yeah, got tore up pretty bad. Had to be medically retired. Went through a lot of stuff. Obviously, found CrossFit. Would later on open up affiliate, met his wife, the beautiful Aubrey Sellers there. And we were just chit chatting at Atlanta. And I get goosebumps literally talking about it right now that by the grace of God, I was not in that chow hall at that time. And through this beautiful organization, we were able to reconnect and just talk about that day and just seeing how, I believe God's led us to that path now, and to see the tremendous success he and his wife has had, and just to be able to be a part of something, finding people like Nick and Aubrey to celebrate them, find them, and cultivate the lessons they've had in their community to be able to apply that across America. Like I am honored to play a small part in that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so lame. I have goosebumps. You guys can't really see, but
I feel like that's the kind of thing where you feel like it's just divine intervention, right? Like, what are the chances?
Yep, 100%. And he's such a great, you'll meet him, Nick and Aubrey, they were there, but the world needs more people like those two. And that's what this first group is about. Like, they're exactly different stories, but they're all united in the mission to serve their community through fitness and education.
I feel it's hard to follow up on that, but I think reading the applications and some of people, some of the, even the initial form, right, where we didn't really ask people for information, but people just volunteered information and they wrote about how they're helping their communities. And I think, Dale, you and I have spent years talking about how communities can solve problems that governments can, or that even businesses aren't really set up to do. And I think it's profoundly powerful to reiterate that coaches save lives on a daily basis, which is something that the average, not even average, the majority of people cannot say about their job. You can't say when you work for, even let's say an insurance company, and you're approving people's, payments for their medical thing, you're not really saving lives directly, right? Doctors, maybe in an OR situation once a week or so, this is every day. The work is so powerful. It's so important. And I just think when Greg and I talk about how can you better professionalize the trainer, it's the trainer deserves to be a professional, respected in their community, on par with any of these other highbrow professions. And the fact that they're not it's a mistake, right? So I feel very strongly in some ways we're just correcting this norm that needs to deserve, that commands more respect when it's done properly, right? So I think like reading that there are people who are doing this work who are in our first 100 is so exciting to me, because I think like some of them are already getting the credit they deserve. Some of them aren't, and they don't care. They're not looking for credit. They're looking for driving impact. Like we had the call with, what was her name? Dottie yesterday.
Oh yeah. Dottie
Like
Litz.
she is one of our new affiliate owners, and she was talking about how she was a cop, and she had a whole situation where now she's a gym owner, and that she like really loves training people, but she's not sending anybody to the games, right? It was like the same old thing that like Greg talks about people saying to him all the time. And her thing was basically like there was somebody who came in a wheelchair who had had a bad fall and had been at physical therapy for 2 years and then was kicked out of physical therapy because they basically said like, we've done as much as we can for you. Her husband brought her into the gym and she got her walking. And it's like, are you kidding? Like that's driving impact that has impact, right? It's an exponential impact because you're not just impacting that individual. She's in her 30s, right? She's a long life to live and to contribute to. And you've just gotten her out of a wheelchair moving. And that then improves all of these other downstream medical conditions that she was at risk for. That, like, how many people can say that they're in their job in that capacity, whatever they're doing? And I know a lot of people go to these like corporate retreats and everybody talks about like how impactful they are. And it's bullshit, right? Like what MetFix affiliates are doing on the ground, lit in short order, is changing lives and therefore changing the community, right? Because I think like you change one person's life, then they go out and they contribute.
Oh yeah, it's ripple effect of 100%.
And so it's like, I mean, I want to be on as many of them. I mean, you guys both know I'm always like, I want to be on all the calls, but
we need like 3 Emilys and then we can
other stuff I have to do sometimes, but it's really inspiring. I mean, it makes me just want to like work harder and harder and harder to help support people because it's unbelievable what these affiliate owners are already doing. And I think once we get them, some more visibility and more tools and whatever, I think the goal is to really make them successful in whatever way they have determined success to be, and make them feel supported in a larger community of people who are doing similar things. Maybe it's a different population, but I think like I can't say enough about how much respect I have for the affiliate owners.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been really tremendous getting to know these folks. And the kind of the common theme that I'm seeing now is they're ready for what's next, right? So they've already became masters in their craft on the movement side, and now they're looking to become expert educators, right? So, that's our job is to provide them all the tools necessary on the health and nutrition education side, and they can start looking at transforming their affiliates into academies. And I think that's such a huge value that we add. And it like Matt and I have talked several times, like I think we're selfishly have the best position in the whole organization because we own affiliates. Yep. And we know what we want to do. And basically we're trying to drive the organization to provide that. And for me, personally, just on the affiliate owner side, like I've been reinvigorated because now, January's coming around and we'll have the ability and the access to provide all these tools to them in the form of courses, whiteboard discussions, digital content, whatever it is, that's up for us to decide. But now we're being led in that direction, and you can kind of sense this fulfillment of purpose again.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The fulfillment of purpose. Yeah, exactly. Like what we do matters. It's not just like lead gen to get a few more members here or there, or to raise the bottom line by a couple $1,000 or something. It's like, no, what you're actually doing has a great purpose behind it and is super meaningful and is impacting lives at a really high level. And like for me, that makes it all worth it, right? You'll go through hell and back to make sure that your gym stays open and that your people are being served if you know that you're serving that higher purpose.
Yeah, and for me on the affiliate side, it feels like me opening my gym back in 2010. Like instead of going to bed and waking up every morning thinking, what can I do for my members? Now it's like, what are we doing for the affiliates? Like that's constantly on the top of my mind is like, what are we doing to provide them the tools that they need to be successful? And just really, like you said, we built the train in 2024. Now that some bitch is getting on the track and we're moving.
Yes. Yeah. And I kind of want to share some of the stuff. Emily, did you want to add anything? I want to, if it's okay, if you guys kind of share this member profile.
Yeah,
What it'll look like.
but and I don't know if we have anything, but we have this great diabetes class that should be launching before the end of the year, but it might be early January. And this is like another example. Like this is something that we'll charge the public to take. It's like a history of diabetes. It's like how carbohydrates are the driving force behind type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, there's a lot of really interesting research happening out of Boston Children's Hospital that's looking at the low carb diet with kids with type 1. But it explains the mechanisms of action and all this stuff. That's going to be free to affiliate owners because we want you to have that education. And then you can encourage your members to take the class if they, know somebody or they want more information or whatever. But I think like there'll be a lot of classes like that, even the manual, which Souza is helping Bob and I with, like that will be an online class that you can take to prepare for the in-person seminar. But it's also the kind of tool that like you can take every week, every month, so that you are really feeling confident with these things, so that when you go in to do a whiteboard talk, we have 40 amazing graphics that are going in the manual, and we're adding to them all the time. If Connor's still on the call, like, thank you, Connor. You're probably making them while you're on the call. But I think like those are all tools. Like those are all things that we can do, that we have subject matter experts that are signing off on all this stuff. So a lot of people are like, oh, like, what does Emily know? We have like doctors in our medical society are going to be involved in the, signing off on the manual. Bob is, by anybody's estimation, one of the best medical researchers in the world. Mm-hmm. We have the best people working on this, and we're going to make it accessible so that you go into your affiliate and you're able to explain this to members. And I think that that's got to be exciting to any coach to continue to learn this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To feel a mastery of something that is, too complicated for some physicians.
Yeah.
Like that is, I think, a huge point of power for our affiliates.
Yeah. And I just like it because it comes out the angle from, it's multifaceted. So like when we do these and you do the whiteboard things, and like Dale takes some of that information, does a whiteboard talk in front of his people that he's training at his noon class, and we're able to film that and then showcase and work with you guys as like, hey, here's why Dale chose what he chose to present. Here's how he presented it. And here's kind of some of the call to actions that he gave his member afterwards. And that melting pot of information, but also access and continued to develop as we go, will be, I think, one of the strongest value points of this, right? Because if I watch Dale do his whiteboard talk with his members after the noon class, and I'm like, damn, that was awesome. And I know I have access to all those same materials, and I'm going to present that in front of my group and give some really cool call to actions for it, or develop something. Hey, and by the way, you guys could, book a nutrition consulting thing with me, and we go over this on a one-on-one level with you if you want a little bit more attention through this, right? If the information that I gave you at large, you don't want to distill it down yourself. So there's so much opportunity in that. And just to kind of piggyback off that, we got the what we were calling here kind of the inside of your affiliate member look, right? So once you become a MetFix affiliate, you'll have access to the back. All those pictures that you guys are seeing are actually pictures, really good pictures of me. They're definitely not just placeholders. So it's just like when I get the lighting dialed in, I somehow become a female. But that's neither here nor there. But what I like about this is like there's so much access to it. And if you guys look, you have events running down on the left-hand side. We have the latest webinars that were coming up. These are kind of the tools that we're going to say that we were saying that are going to be developing over time, that are going to be right there for you guys to access. And the best part about this is most of the people that are going to be taking this information, curating it, and putting it in front of you guys freaking own affiliates. So we know exactly what you want, exactly what it is that is going to help your members. And we'll be getting feedback from all our other, especially this first 100, guys. Like you've heard me say it earlier, like you guys are the contributors. Like we are laying the foundation of what this community is going to represent and some of the things that we're going to tackle. So when you first get involved in this as a MetFix affiliate, like it's not a passive situation. Like we want you guys utilizing these tools, and we want the feedback on what did that look like when you got them in front of your members? Were there any constraints on the information? Were there any pitfalls? Is there anything we could lend some more support on? Or do you just need Dale and I to continue to kind of roll through and then lay out examples for you guys to follow and make your own? But if you look, it's a super.
To add to that, I also, the other piece of that is also saying like, hey guys, I'd love to do a webinar. Like I work with addicts, right? Or people in recovery, or prisoners, or cops and firefighters, right? Just to name a few expertise we have in this, conversation. And like that, those are all going to be webinars that we're going to offer so that you can learn how to access government funds to help offset the, business model that you currently have, and tap into helping other groups in your community and building out your community. And that's all going to be really community led. So our subject matter experts are people who are affiliate owners, who are experts, and they're going to be able to teach the rest of us how to do it.
Yeah, the peer generated content will be a huge part of this. So you'll be able to see, and that's one of the requirements from the first 100 is, within the year they put together some sort of piece of content or media that they can share with other owners, as a way to see, what they're doing that's successful, and then be able to kind of cultivate mini networks amongst the group to build support amongst each other.
And then the other thing to add to that is like the sort of symbiotic relationship with the medical society. So like the medical society experts, like all those webinars are available to affiliate owners too. There'll be crossover between those two groups where appropriate. And I think that is going to be something I'm very excited to see, of like how that all comes to fruition and what it looks like, because there's so much overlap in interest and an output, but people are doing different things.
Yeah, that's really going to be the exciting thing. And we're going to have a lot of like things we can't even really think about that'll come out of that, right? Like kind of the unknown and the unknowables and the different cross pollinations of pulling things from here to there and then applying it. And it's like, whoa, check out the way this thing kind of worked with my members. We have a question here from Jeremy. How do we get information on becoming a MetFix affiliate? You said you would check personal check just to Matt. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry. There's been a lot of that in the last week where I'm like, can we just please add this one person? In January, I think Greg and I talked about this yesterday. We're going to send all of our current affiliates 3 invitations. So anybody who's a current 100 will be able to invite 3 people that they vouch for to be in the next cohort. And then we will pick another tranche from our list. So if you haven't already, if you go to brokenscience.org/MetFix, there's a place there to sign up. If you're interested in being a MetFix affiliate, that's not the application, but it's an interest form. I highly encourage you to write on that interest form. Anybody who didn't write did not get selected last time because there were too many and we had to nail it down to a more manageable list. Write something about how you're helping your community, why you're interested in MetFix, and Dale will read that, and Souza will read that, and they'll give me a final list, and we'll figure out who to add to the next cohort. But I think that's going to happen sooner than we had expected.
Yeah, and like we're not growing for the sake of just growth. Growth isn't like that's not a number one concern for us. The currently it's just like getting the right people there. And a big part of that will be based upon your application, your responses to your essays, your video. Like it's kind of a higher barrier of entry to get in, because we want to make sure as we build this thing, we're doing a good job of vetting the right people in there.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add to that the reason to add, the invitations was something that we had planned from the beginning. I liked the idea of it being sort of like a academic society where you have to get nominated by somebody. And then we can have a provenance of like how people entered and who connected who and what that looks like as a family tree as we grow. But I also think like the demand from this first cohort and some of the emails that we've gotten from people really just heartbroken that they weren't let in made me realize like part of the community is also taking care of people. And that means like, well, I want to be very slow and methodical about how we grow. I also want to be true to the idea that like the more affiliates there are, the more people have access to each other in local areas and can support each other. And I don't want to stall that out to the point where we're not really allowing the community to flourish and for people to learn and grow together.
Yep. Well said. And then this is kind of an interesting question before we let Dale go here. We could kind of all take a stab at this, and obviously I have my opinions, but Emily, if you want to dig in here. The question is, many MetFix affiliates will not be medical professionals, but rather box owners. How do they get their members to buy into guidance beyond exercise if they aren't wearing a white coat and stethoscope? Great question.
Yeah, I mean, I think the manual, this 2-day seminar that we're offering for MetFix affiliates have to pass within a year of their affiliation, and will be open to any coaches or doctor. We have a lot of people in the medical society who want to take it. It's a deep dive into how the body functions, how you process energy, how you take food and turn it into energy, how you expend energy through exercise, how you build muscle, like why lean body mass is so important. It's the biochemistry, it's cell biology, it's that you will leave with a glossary of terms and a new vocabulary and the ability to draw mechanisms of action and things that I think my goal is that anybody who's an affiliate owner who has a doctor walk in and say, like, what are you talking about? Like, I learned in med school that this is, you have to eat a low fat diet and carbs are fine. You need carbs. You'll be able to say, like, well, actually, no, like, let's look at, how the ATP cycle works and how, lipolysis shuts down when insulin is high. That's not controversial. So I think it's really important to just emphasize, and I'll say this 100 more times in probably the next couple of weeks, is like, there is nothing in our curriculum that is controversial. It is grounded in science. It's grounded in the kind of science you can find in a high school biology book. It's just not taught to registered dietitians because they legally have to prescribe the American Dietary Guidelines, which say a high carb diet is what is beneficial. So they're not taught it's wrong. They're not taught it. It's excluded. Doctors get 1 day of nutrition in med school. You're sick that day. You decide it's not important. You get nothing. It might be the most important thing that anybody learns about how their body functions. Like I keep saying, like my kids have to take class on like puberty in middle school. Why aren't they learning like how your body processes food as energy? So it's really, when I say it's not controversial, it's, partly true. It will be perceived as controversial because it's not the norm, but scientifically it is not controversial. It's very well established understanding of energy. And so going back to that, and we're breaking it down in ways that allow you to really understand it. And then you can really effectively teach it. And the weekly email that will go out to affiliate owners in, I should probably say the spring because people will kill me if I promise it too soon. Yeah. It'll be a breakdown of all that information so that every week you'll have one of these things that you can talk about. And so like you're going to become an expert the more you, sort of immerse yourself in the information. And we are trying to do the best we can to break the information down and make it accessible. But honestly, it's really not that complicated. So, somebody like Bob will take it and do a super deep dive, not just into like the history of, how we got it wrong, but also into like, what are the mechanisms of action? And some of that stuff is too high level for me. And so in some ways, I think like, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, when he started talking to me about this stuff, I was like, what are you talking about? And now as a sort of communication person who's done a lot of science reporting and writing, and him as a high level medical researcher, I think the combined sort of forces are allowing us to create this document, which I think is going to be probably one of the most powerful things on the market. And then I would say, Souza has been doing a lot of work with cops and firefighters where he's breaking down the mechanics of movement in ways that are really useful. So like functional movements that you use every day and that you want to be able to use for the rest of your life as a sort of continuation of Greg's work. So he's fundamental on the movement side. And Bob also has a master's in exercise physiology and gets all that stuff. So like they're working on the mechanics of movement piece very closely. And it's phenomenal what they're coming up with. And Greg came up with a screening protocol that we're going to be using for like how to measure where somebody is in their fitness. And so I think like all of these things, it's really, it's beyond exciting. And I hope that satisfies that, as an answer to that question, because I think it's hard to explain it. But once you take the class, you will leave being like, damn, I get this. It's not just telling people to eat low carb, it's telling them why.
Right. And on top of that, I'd just like to add, like, if you're getting your members to buy into it, here's what the situation is. Like, this information is coming down distilled to put in front of doctors with the white lab coats in the stethoscopes. And so it isn't just information we're pulling out of the ether and putting in front of, members or in front of you guys to put in front of your members. When you go back and you look at the trail of the research and the people who it came from that cohort of people. So it's not really necessarily getting them to buy into like our guidance. It's also getting them to buy into the collective of the intellectual powerhouses and the doctors that are involved with us as well too. Dale, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I would just say the short answer is trust, right? You've got to be able to build that trust with your clients, and how you build that trust is through the consistent delivering of that education. Yeah, it's got to be something you believe in yourself and you practice, and you quote unquote, you're experimenting with that protocol, and then you can provide the results. And then, like Emily said, you can provide, this is why I got the results. And eventually over time, it's not going to be first week. It's going to be maybe 6 weeks, 6 months, but they'll get it.
Yeah, exactly. And like we always say, it's like, hey, don't put it up to us. Run the test on yourself. And did you reap the benefit of it? And is it moving in the direction that you want to? And if the answers to those are yes, then what other guidance are do you really need, right? But yeah, so
I think the other thing to add is that like the I keep calling it a manual, but I know people want to call it a handbook. So whatever you want to call it is so well sourced. Yes. That if you have anybody who is challenging you, you will have an arsenal of medical journal studies to send them that back up what you're saying. So it's not going to fall on you in the sense of like, oh, this guy's just a coach and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And this person has a PhD in nutrition and they're saying that the coach is wrong. It's like, great, we'll send the PhD in nutrition, all these studies, and have them explain it to you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the CrossFit Spur, who was like, love that, Dale. The same reason they followed our programming is because they trust and see that it works. Yeah. And then she was kind of echoing what you were saying, Emily. Thanks, Emily. We actually got rid of the in-house RD for this exact reason. Their education didn't mesh with what we know, but the master's degree on the wall made it more appealing to many. And, I have, and I could see if I could pull them out of Grace at some point, but she has some very interesting stories to tell about when she went and got her master's in nutritional science and became a registered dietitian. Some interesting stories for another show. And Carrie, yes, nurses are great educators as well. We completely agree. Awesome. Jeremy just applied. My dad just had a heart attack and is currently in the hospital. So this kind of work can save his life. Thank you for all that we do. Absolutely, Jeremy. We wish your dad speedy recovery, but you're 100% correct. We are trying to work really hard so that way people have something to combat against those different conditions and lifestyles that put them in those positions. So anything else we want to cover while we have Dale here? I think we hit all the pieces. Yeah.
I actually got to run to my next call. So
all right.
Appreciate you guys. Love y'all.
Calls all day. You should see my calendar after I told you guys, like, invite me to all your calls. I'm like, damn, Dale.
All right. Love you guys. See you soon.
Dale. All right, buddy. Goodbye. He gets the applause on the way out too. There we go.
So Greg just sent me a message.
Yes.
They're on vacation, right? And the caretaker of their house has a little boy who's been hanging out with his kids. And he just found out that it's his birthday and that all he's ever wanted is a bike. So Greg and the kids are going to buy him a bike. So he will not be joining us on the call because he's buying this birthday kid
a bike.
Costa Rica, a bicycle.
Amazing.
So I can't really get mad at that. I
no.
really see Greg doing that, and I think it's great. But he'll join us next time.
And I think it's funny because the people that know and would hear that from Greg, and it's like, that doesn't surprise me one bit. And for those of you guys that aren't like aware of a lot of the stuff that Greg does behind the scenes, this is not unusual at all for him to hear some sort of story and just jump in and contribute. And
I don't have any details, but I had been like, hey, can you hop on this call for like 15 minutes? And he's like, yeah, of course. And then he's like, hey, you're not going to believe this. I just met this little boy who's the caretaker's son and it's his birthday. And I'm a big birthday person. And he's like, and he needs a bike. So the kids and I are going to go get him a bike. And I'm like, go get him the bike. That's amazing.
That's awesome. And just wanted to say something with the stuff with Dale is like all the affiliates that are going through are literally doing a personal call with Dale. That's what Emily was referring to when she says that she wants to be on the call. And trust me, when she does, so if it works with her schedule, she will be on that call with Dale and with you as affiliate owner. And it's just simply just kind of like a meet and greet. And like when we're talking about, we want to the community to have access to anybody inside of the Broken Science team and vice versa. Like we're serious about it. It's not just lip service. Like we are doing face-to-face video calls with these people. Like Dale has, like he sent it and invited me to him as well. So I will be at the ones that I can. And they just started coming through and he shot me a text. He's like, I just put an avalanche of meetings at you. Don't worry, do what you can. Just wanted to get you involved. And so that's the level of involvement that we are not only internally, but also externally to everybody who's coming into the MetFix kind of community and family here.
I think ultimately leadership is about being transparent. So like we may make decisions that people don't love. Like I want to know that. It doesn't mean that we're going to change course, but we're wildly open to what you guys think would be helpful to you and like what's going to make you successful. That's everything. So I think us having an open door policy is super important as we grow.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And just super thankful for all the opportunities and everything that's going on here, because the reason why I'm so invested into this, and a lot of the people that watch any other shows know that, like, I truly believe in this mission in the individuals that are all involved, to the ones that I work with closely on the BSI team, to the affiliate owners I got to meet, and to the ones that I haven't got to meet yet. Like, I know the commitment level in that passion that burns inside all of us. And I'm just super excited to be a part of a team and a cohort of people that are going to continue to drive that mission. And it's not focused on, Dale said, on like growths or arbitrary KPIs or numbers. It's on delivering the best possible information and education to affiliate owners and coaches that we can. So that way they could professionalize themselves, continue to level up, and save as many people as we can. But before we wrap this thing, Emily, is there anything else on the list here that we want to get to that we haven't touched on that we want to for this live? I know we're going to get these more frequently. You had just talked to me. I'm super honored to host them. I like doing this as long as my little soundboard and stuff doesn't get too crazy. But anything else on the
We need like a wah, wah, wah.
And check this out. In case I do a joke and it doesn't land, which happens often.
You're hired, Souza. It's your job. I love it. You're made for this.
Oh, but anything else you want to touch on?
Wanted to touch on was do you have the investigations?
Yes, there's two things.
We have an amazing video editor who's doing. So every MetFix application includes a video where you introduce your affiliate and why you want to, how you're going to contribute and what you've been up to. We should also play those. We have an editor basically taking all those videos and turning them into shorts that really promote the work of the affiliates, which we will then be, sharing publicly. And obviously they're a way for you to build out your internal page, that page that we just showed. So you want to do that before we get to this? Because
sure.
You have those, right?
Yeah, I got one an example here that Mia hooked us up with. So I'll go ahead and play that. I'm going to drop us because otherwise it's going to split us. It's going to look weird. But anyhow, here we go, guys. Here's going to be the video.
Hi, I'm Cassie Edwards, owner, head coach, and nutrition coach in Corpus Christi, Texas. Studying under Greg Glassman's methodology, I've seen the incredible impact on a community of people, and it's super inspiring. I've watched people overcome addiction, transform obesity into athleticism, and families reconnect through the power of fitness. It's about more than just movement. It's about empowering them to believe in themselves and grow. With MetFix resources, our gym can become more than a gym. It can be a community health hub for both physical and mental wellness. One of my favorite things about our gym is that we have entire families in our membership base. Sometimes we'll have the kids come in our kids class and they've learned so much about health and fitness that they inspire their parents to join. And when they do, it just warms my heart.
So every affiliate submits a video. Our video editor then takes that video and kind of compiles, takes the audio and whatever B-roll is involved and makes it into a shorter version, which we can then use and they can use. I mean, again, it's just one of these things where it's like, we have a team. Not every affiliate has a team. We're going to do everything we can to help the world know what you're doing and how magical it is and impactful it is in your box. So just at the launch, you're going to get this great little packaged video to use however you want, and we'll use it to promote you and MetFix also. So
cool. And then bringing back up just the investigations, this is probably a perfect piggyback, right? Because it's like we took the videos of the MetFix affiliates to really highlight and showcase their work. And this is the investigation side of all the stuff that you're working on and the cohort of people that we have in the group here.
Yeah, so we have a couple, I don't know if you probably know us on social media, you know that we have all these amazing reels that look at scientific misconduct in academia and, sort of medical establishments. So those reels will all be hosted on this investigations page, which will be on brokenscience.org. We have done a deep dive for about 6 months on Bobby Kennedy and the accusations against him. And we've put things that people say he says back in context. We also look at things like the vaccines, which quite frankly, I didn't know enough about before. and sort of, there's this whole thing on Samoa, which is really going to break, and they're going to try to use to get him to not be confirmed for head of HHS. We have all of it. So we have like all of the documents from Samoa. We have documents from the government. So this is really like a fact check kind of place for people to go. If there's something in the news, as we build this out, we will try to look at it very carefully. These are all original sources. Sources are all available. Everything's linked out. So you can check for yourself whether we're right or we're wrong. But in some ways, this goes back to my sort of like investigative journalism roots where, and obviously with Greg, like I was able to see that a lot of the things that were being said about him were not true. And I wish we could have done something like this for Greg at the time. And so it's really looking at people who, I'm in contact with, and I realize like this isn't getting reported quite right. Like what's happening here? And we'll be able to pull back. So we've done a lot of stuff. Anybody who's heard my talk knows about the Dana-Farber scandal. Harvard Teaching Hospital, which has, been fabricating and falsifying images, and no one's really holding them accountable. That will be on this page. The Bobby Kennedy stuff, all of our reels looking at scientific misconduct, really like peer-reviewed publications mostly. I think we have some stuff on the COVID vaccine and kids in particular, and we'll just keep building that out. So this is going to be a place that I think will generate a lot of outside attention to broken science, which will then help funnel down to all of the other projects. But I also think it's just a place to go and get good information, right?
Yeah.
So the Bobby Kennedy thing, like I've, helped him. And so I've had a lot of people in my orbit be like, he's crazy. Like how can you be like facilitating this? And I'm like, he's really not. And like, so often there were things that people would say that he said that I'm like, I can't imagine him saying that. And when you go back and you look at what happened in context, a lot of this is him asking questions. So he'll like, why don't we hold vaccine trials to the same standard that we hold all other medical interventions and drugs to? There's no placebo group required for vaccines. You do not have to have a placebo group. That is so fundamental to any experimental principle. To have a group to compare it to, you don't have to. I mean, so like the liability issue of vaccines not being held to having any liability is a huge one. But he's mostly asking really inconvenient questions.
Yep.
And then people say like, oh, he's saying not to get your vaccine. And people don't know, like he's fully vaccinated other than COVID, as are his children. He's not anti-vax. He's all about informed consent. And there are risks associated with these things, just like there are with any medicine. And should we know about that? And so I really hope that the investigative section allows people to go in and be like, wait, he's not actually crazy. He's asking questions that like, I thought we had answers for. What does this mean? We don't have answers for them, right? And so like we have a government document that I got that says that there's been $5.3 billion, billion with a B, paid out for vaccine injuries. Some of those are for MMR, and some of those are diagnosing autism in people who have been vaccinated. That's not me. That's not Bobby. That's the US government agreeing that this happened.
Yeah.
So for people to say there is no evidence that this ever happened, they're lying or they don't know. So to give any citizen the tools to say, like, why is the US government paying out all this money if there's no problem with these, should spark an interesting discussion. That's the hope for me.
Yeah. That's really cool. Actually, I'm probably going to rip a lot of that and do shows on it. Because that would be a lot of fun. Just basically like once every 2 weeks or however the content goes in there, depending on what's happening in the news cycles and stuff, just pulling it, laying it out and like talking through those. So something that I'll definitely be doing. Jeffrey Birchfield, thanks for becoming a new YouTube member. That's awesome. You get an applause for that. How amazing. All right. So, yeah, Craig, yeah, that would be cool, right? And just go through that and you just kind of take like different perspectives off all the stuff that's being investigated and talked about and just kind of do some general processing and discussion and then replay them. So it's kind of like localized in one spot. That'd be a cool little show and a way to kind of archive some of those pieces. Emily, anything else you want to touch base on for this particular live today?
Questions that came up about the New York Times article, but we definitely do not need to discuss that if nobody has any glaring things they want to talk about. There were a lot of, obviously, the major inaccuracies in that story. I'm going to outline them for you in more detail and you can do what you want with them. But
Yeah,
there were just things that were really wrong. Like we don't have an essay for MetFix. Greg is not reviewing essays, right? So like that's a no. Obviously, all the allegation stuff, I'm sure everybody on here already knows, like that's all bullshit. And it's like weird and crazy that they felt the need to bring that up again. But I think they're covering their own ass because they did some of that reporting and haven't ever corrected it. But I also think like there were some, like Josh Honeycutt didn't fly on Greg's plane like a bunch of scientific luminaries. He came to an event at CrossFit Future, which is an Ohio affiliate with us. Like there were just weird, like there's lots of things that were like, you know, not horribly scandalous that were wrong.
Right.
And so I just think like, you know, the story has been good for us in that there are a lot of affiliates that didn't know about MetFix and are now reaching out saying, how do I become
bad publicity, right? I guess.
And I think most of the feedback is like, you know, why can't the New York Times get things right? We love Greg, but it, you know, obviously it's still a little frustrating that had to play the way that it did when really the story should have been. And like the reporter talked to Stephen Luther, the guy that Karin and I were talking about earlier, for like a long time. And he wasn't even included in any of the story.
Yes.
Nothing really about like how we're working to reverse chronic disease or how the medical societies interact, you know, or the philosophy of science. They said that Greg is going to be doing the MetFix certs. No, he's not. He's doing the philosophy of science certs. So if anybody has questions about any of that, or they are like, oh, I want to go, like there's even a lot of people are confused that the January event that Greg is doing is 2 days of Greg talking for 5 hours each day on the philosophy of science. And we were going to open that up, but Greg would prefer to have a very small group for January, and then he will do it again. He said, like, I'll do it again in a month, you know, like I don't need to wait, but I just want to have like one sort of dress rehearsal where I can get really good feedback from people who are, you know, sort of in the trenches with us. So that, I think that's really important to clarify, because I don't want people thinking that they're coming to the MetFix cert and that Greg is leading it.
Right. Yeah.
And,
good clarification through with that.
Yeah.
And Matt Shabern, like, please do Matt Burns. That's a whole show of its own. It is a whole show of its own. And like, there was lots of different, like, I'm always saying there's just kind of like these weird inconsistencies and like slants on stuff that's like, well, that's inaccurate. Why would you put it that way? Which then kind of speaks to the whole tonality, if I could use that word, on the piece in and of itself. And so Emily kind of snapped into her investigative journalist set and was like, wait a minute, let's really look closely at a lot of this stuff, because just at the forefront of it, it's like, this is already seems off. So anyhow,
another like just little detail is interesting. It's like, I'm labeled a journalist. He and I talked for a long time about other businesses I've run. Like none of that's included. And so I saw feedback from people being like, how is this journalist giving advice? And like, why is she doing this?
Like what? I mean, just the fact that he talked to Stephen Luther and how much you guys just talked him up when Karin was on here, and then they had all that information and chose to use none of it. And like, I, you know, obviously, like, I know and like Josh a lot, and I know and like Hiller, and Hiller's a good friend and stuff, but to use those two things as quotes when the cohort of people that you and Greg been around over these last couple of years, they could have chose so many other people that are especially being highlighted right now, from Jay Bhattacharya to, you know, any of these other people that you guys are in close communications with that's involved with the Broken Science Project. But instead they didn't, you know, they used the YouTuber. And so it's just right away, you're already kind of like, okay. But kind of when Emily and I talked about it a little bit, I was like, hey, if you want to throw all those inaccuracies through, then we'll kind of discuss. I would love to do just a whole entire breakdown show on how the New York Times is clearly just trying to stunt anything that Greg is doing for whatever their own thing. I think somebody made the joke, yeah, Matt Burns, how much does pharma pay the New York Times? So
my talk, if you come to a medical society event where I give my talk, I break down all the money going from pharma to the media. Yeah.
And you guys are kind of already pervy to why things were laid out that way. But yeah, so okay, that was great. I had an awesome time doing this. As you guys could tell, I'm super excited about all the stuff that we are working on. I'm super grateful to be involved in it. And like Emily said, this year in 2025 is going to be about promoting, actionalizing, and getting everything in front of you guys that we've been working so hard on behind the scenes, because I know its value and what it'll bring to not only yourselves but your members as well. So really excited.
Before we go, I want to say thank you to you.
Oh, sure.
because I do think like people know you as this like big personality and, you know, you've got all this great advice and whatever. And that's all true. But behind the scenes, you are working really hard on the manual. And that's so important to me and, you know, to the community once it gets out there. But also I just like, I'm always so grateful to you for like being able to say, like, anytime I'm like, hey, can you do this? You're like, yes, I'll do it. Sure. I'll do it. How can I help? And for what, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, you've been coming to our events. You've been offering to help me with stuff behind the scenes. You never sent a bill. I had to like hunt you down, send me an invoice for things. And like, that means a lot. I mean, it's like, you're on the mission for all the right reasons. You're working really hard. You're willing to, you know, show up. And I mean, everybody on the team is, but like, I think we've sort of highlighted some of the other people and like, you're a really important part of the team too. So
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And on this, Andrew Hiller, I'm the most official source. Yeah, right. Source, trust me, bro. Okay. Anyhow, thank you guys. Thank you, Emily. I really appreciate those kinds of words. It means a lot. I'm super grateful to be a part of this. You guys, we will catch you on the next one. Please stay active, stay contributing, go to the site, fill out all the things, get involved. We'd love to have all of you guys. Thank you for joining the live this afternoon. We look forward to doing more with you, and we will catch you on the next one.
And Christmas Eve, check out our Instagram because we have something that we've been working on that's silly.
Yeah.
So excited. It's going to be really fun.
Awesome. So if you guys aren't following, follow, like, subscribe, do all the things. We'll catch you on the next one.
Share.
Adios. Bye-bye.